dear students. Welcome to Army Public School Delhi Kent podcast for class 12th English. And this is your host, Renu Singh. Today, I'll take fourth story, The Rattrap, taken from the book called Flamingo, which is in your syllabus. So, dear friends, I hope this audio will help you in understanding the story. In the beginning, I'll update you how I will proceed. I will first talk about the author, then the background of the story, followed by the theme of the story, then title and style of writing. After that, the gist of the story, and finally, the character sketch. So, I'll start with the author. The story, The Rattrap, has been written by Selma Lagerlof. She was a Swedish writer. She was born in 1858 in Värmland, Sweden. In 1909, she became the first woman writer and first Swede to win the Nobel Prize for Literature. So now after this, we come to the background of the story. To understand the story, one has to know about the background of the story. As I've just told you that the author of the story was from Sweden, and the story has been written in the beginning of 20th century, as she was born in 1858. So we have to know about the political conditions or situation of Sweden at that time. Obviously, the author depicts the area and the situation around him or her only. So at that time in Sweden, many farm families were displaced by growing industries in Europe during the industrial development. And some people were reduced to lives of extreme poverty. So this was the background of the story. Now the theme. Now through this story, author wants to convey these two ideas. The first, essential goodness is present in everyone. And second is, kindness and compassion can change anyone. So, these two things, one is that everyone has an essential goodness. Second is, compassion and kindness can change anyone's heart. So, after this, we come to the title. How apt is the title? We have to see that. The Rat Trap. The title of the story refers to the theory that life is one big rat trap. It has never existed for any other purpose than to set baits for people. It offers riches and joys, shelter and food, heat and clothing, exactly as the rat trap offers cheese and pork. And as soon as anyone let himself be tempted to touch the bait, it closes in on him. And then everything comes to an end. This is the title of the story. Now, the style of writing, it is written like a fairy tale. So it is an allegory. An allegory is a simple story that represents a larger point about society or human nature. This particular is a biblical allegory because it invokes the themes from the Bible, and also explores the struggle between good and evil. So now we have come to the next part, that is the gist of the story. You would be waiting for this. So the story goes like this. The protagonist of the story is a paddler who plodded his lonely way by selling rat traps, which, however, is not a very good living. When left to his own meditation, he began to think of life as a huge rat trap. One evening, he knocked on the door of a grey cottage, and an old crofter, that means a farmer, opened the door. He welcomed the vagabond and made him comfortable with food, drink, and tobacco. They even played cards till bedtime. The old man was lonely and had no wife or child, so he needed a company, and he found paddler as a company. He was once a crofter, and he lost his land, as I told you about the Industrial Revolution. but now he lived on his cattle. He even showed the stranger his saving kept in the leather pouch. There were 3 wrinkled 10 kronor notes, that is a Swedish currency. On the following day, the peddler bid the farmer goodbye, but he returned and stole the farmer's money. After that, he had no courage to use the public highway, as he was afraid of getting caught. He got into a forest, but he lost his way and finally reached an iron mill. Though the blacksmith did not show much enthusiasm, but when the iron master came, he mistook him to be one of his old acquaintances and invited him home. The peddler did not undeceive the iron master, thinking he might get some money from him as a help. When the iron master failed to convince the stranger of his hospitality, he sent his daughter to welcome him home. The peddler got convinced by the reassurance given by Edla and went along with her to the iron master's house. The following day, after the bath and change of dress, his true self came out, and the iron master recognized the peddler, and he understood that he mistook him. The peddler pleaded his innocence, but he was ordered to leave. But Edla thought that it was an injustice to let the man go on the eve of Christmas. So she interceded, and because she wanted to make him feel peaceful and comfortable. So she gave him good food and allowed him to take away her father's dress as a Christmas present. The stranger became dumbfounded. He had never received such mercy from anyone. The next day, at church, Ella and her father learned about the stranger, what he had done to the old man, whose money he had stolen. They returned home alarmed, thinking that he must have repeated the same at their home too. As they reached home, they found a packet left behind by the man. It was a rat trap, a gift for Edla, and there was a note in which he thanked her and repented for her guilt of stealing the old man's money. She even found those notes inside the packet with a request to return them to the rightful owner. Her kindness changed the life of Peddler. The peddler thanked Edla for giving him a second chance and helping him out. He signed his name as Captain von Stehel, her father mistook him. Now the last part, that is the discussion of the characters. The character is, first, there are total 4 people in this story. One is a rat trap seller, second, old man, third, the iron master whom he met, and the last, Edla. These are the 4 characters. So the first is rat trap seller. He was a poor vagabond. He lived alone. Instead of goodness, he had human weakness of petty thievery and begging. Apart from that, he never been treated well by anyone. And last is, he had his own imagination and meditation and considering or philosophical thought that the whole world is a rat trap. Next is the old man, who was a very welcoming host. He also lived alone, and he was happy to have guests. That means he was very generous man, very hospitable, and he was really a wonderful host because he played with him cards, as well as he offered all the food as well as tobacco to him. Then last, he was a crofter. He didn't have any land now because of the industrialization. Now he had to live on his cattle only, and he was gullible and naive also. He trusted anyone and everyone who had visited us. He trusted the stranger also. He shared all his saving also. He showed also those to him. So he was lonely. That shows that he was very lonely. Next is the iron master. Iron master was he was a owner of the Ramsjo iron mill, iron work. He was very hardworking because he was visiting, giving a surprise visit, paying a surprise visit in the iron mill in the night also. But he was impulsive because he looked at him and he invited him at his home. And when he got to know that he mistook him, then he was ready to call sheriff also to hand him over. And he was very kind-hearted. He wanted to help anyone who's downtrodden, whoever is weak, or he was ready to help him. Next is Edla. Edla was not depicted as a very beautiful, but she was a modest. She was kind and compassionate. She was very open-hearted and sympathetic. That we had, as this, in the story it has been highlighted. Then she had a sense of judgment, and she was very convincing or persuasive. As her father could not convince the peddler, then he sent her because she had a persuasive power, and that's why she could convince him and took him home. So these were the main characters, and situations we have already discussed. That what has exactly happened. I hope you must have understood this story. It's interesting. You can open your book and read it, and if you find any problem anywhere, you're welcome. Thank you.